everybody. Welcome to the 90-day book launch, day 5, I think. We did 4 last week, so today's day 5. I might have to change my numbers around. And I'm back to start our second week of a behind-the-scenes look at self-publishing a book, and specifically my newest psychological suspense called Following You. Now, this week we are going to shift into marketing mode, into launch mode, and this is like some of my favorite stuff. I love marketing, and so I always like to talk about marketing, books and authors, and coming up with new ideas on how to do that to increase your visibility and to increase your readership, which then increases sales. So the first thing I want to talk about today is something that I hear a lot from authors who are publishing for the first time, and maybe I meet them at a writer's conference or they get in touch with me to learn how to self-publish their book, and I ask them about the marketing portion, and they say something along the lines of, well, I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens. And I can tell you in no uncertain terms what will happen if you just throw it out there. Nothing will happen. And of course, that makes sense when you consider how many millions of books are launched in a given year and how many more self-published books are launched on a daily basis. How do you break through all of these books so that yours gets noticed? And so that's what marketing is all about, of course, right? Because I know that no one ever writes a book they don't want anyone to read, unless it's the first draft. That one I always say, I hope no one ever reads this. But other than that, most authors write to entertain readers, of course. So you're not going to just throw it out there and see what happens, because nothing will happen. It will not be seen. It will go to the bottom of the ocean of billions of books. I liken it to if you were to start selling ice cream. You know, if you were in the business of selling ice cream, you wouldn't fill a cooler with ice cream sandwiches and throw it outside in front of your house on the sidewalk with a can next to it and hope that that would launch your ice cream business, right? Because that's in fact what you're doing when you self-publish. You are starting a small business, right? You're not only creating the product, but now you're selling it. So I know that there are a lot of you out there who say, I just want to write. I just want to write my book. I don't want to do the marketing. I don't know how to do the marketing. I have no interest in the marketing. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not extroverted. I can tell you right now, hi Liz, I can tell you right now, you do not need to be jumping on a Facebook Live video once a week to market your book. There's so many different ways to market your book, and some of them you probably don't even realize comes under the category of marketing. And that's what I want to show you today, because I believe that you can do it in a way that you feel comfortable and you feel proud and you feel like you're supporting your small business and your art and your book, and you're getting it in front of people so that you do have readers. Everybody wants those, okay? So let's say you got a storefront in your town. Like my town has restaurants and stores, and you can go shopping down there. So let's say you rented out a space, okay? And you have this giant window in front of your store. That is hot marketing potential right there, okay? You don't ignore your front window, right? You need to maximize that space. If it's a 10 by 10 window, you need to maximize that space. And you need to design it so that people who are walking by are stopping dead in their tracks. They stare into your window, and they're looking to see what the heck is going on in this store. What are you selling in this store? So it has to be interesting. It has to be provocative. It has to have perhaps signage that says what the name of your store is, or what is it that you're selling. And it has to have style, and it has to have a theme. And this is your book cover, right? If you can get someone interested in your window, in your book cover, then they will go on to the next step, okay? They might actually open the door to your store and come in and see what's going on in there. What exactly is this boutique selling with these cute dresses and these cute tops and jewelry? I got to go check it out. Well, if you can get someone to walk through your front door, you better wow them when they're in there, okay? So you better have awesome merchandise. That I liken to your book description, right? If someone's wowed by your book cover and wants to know more, they're going to either turn over that book, if they're in your town bookstore, or if they're in a Barnes & Noble, they're going to turn it over and read, what is this book about? This looks amazing. This cover looks amazing. I got to read, what is this about, okay? That's like that person walking into your store. This is your opportunity, gang. Wow them with the book description, okay? You're going to start out with an amazing hook, some line at the top that maybe is a story question or something really hooky so that they want to read the first paragraph. And then if they love what they see there, perhaps they'll take the next step. So let's go back to the store for a second. They're in your store. They see this adorable dress. Oh my gosh, you have it in my size. I love the colors. I got to try it on. So they go to try it on, right? What is that in the book world? That is clicking on that feature. If you're buying online or if you're in person at a store, you read the first couple of pages. Well, let me tell you something. If you got them that far, you better seal the deal. You are just reeling them in, right? So now you've got to make your sale. That dress better look knockout, and she better walk right to the cash register and pay for that. And so I just mentioned three things: the book cover, right? The description on the back of the book, and the first couple of pages of the manuscript of your book itself. So what about that needs a person who's an extrovert? Nothing. You're a writer. You can do this. You can handle this. So this is what you start with, okay? Making your store look amazing. And when I refer to the store, I'm talking about your online presence at any of the retailers your book is sold at. That page better look amazing, okay? And we're going to talk in a future session about how the specifics of that. I'm going to take you through it, okay? G2, how are you? No means to, yeah, absolutely. Nobody wants to write a book and no one's going to read. Thanks for coming today. So what am I going to do this week? Because today I want to talk to you about everything on my to-do list for the rest of this week, because we're going to meet on Mondays from now on, Mondays at 3 o'clock, where I'm going to review with you what's on my list to tackle. And then next Monday, I'll talk a little bit about how far I got, what I accomplished. If I ran into any roadblocks, I'll share those with you so that you don't repeat it and waste your time in doing it. And then I'll set you up for my next week of what I'm going to do next week. So this week, what I'm doing is I'm continuing to tweak the cover. As you guys know, I am designing the cover right now. It's super exciting, but it is a process. It's a back and forth. You're collaborating with a designer. They need to get your vision, and you need to express yourself in a way where they can create that, right? Because it's a tough process, and there's a back and forth. I've never heard of anyone coming back with a cover on the first round and saying, wow, you really read my mind. That's exactly what I want. So I'm continuing to do that, which is really fun and exciting to see it take form. The other thing I was doing this morning was writing some of those book club questions for the back matter. We talked about that last week, the back matter of the ebook and the paperback. Since my book is a psychological suspense, it is prime book club reading. And you hear me out there, book clubs? I want to come to your book club and talk about following you. So hopefully you will reach out and let me know if you selected following you, and I'd love to know about that and even attend some of those book clubs. But what I told you about last week is when you prepare a list of book club questions, what you're suggesting to the reader who may have not thought about it as a book club selection, you're suggesting to them, wow, oh yeah, I've got to consider this for my book club. This is a great book club book. So this morning I was writing some of those questions and I went to go review some of the feedback I got from beta readers. And there were some characters and themes and scenes that my beta readers had polar opposite reactions to, which, you know, of course that is going to happen because when we read a book, we're all bringing our own lived experiences to that book, right? That's why we react in a certain way. When we read something about somebody's childhood, we're thinking about our own, of course, right? So, but when I was thinking about these beta readers and how they were responding opposite, in polar opposites to some of the characters or some of the, because they don't have a character like that in their life or they've never met somebody like that in their life. I thought, wow, these are going to be great. This is great fodder for the book club questions because it will incite some really lively discussions. So that's how I was getting some ideas of what to put in that section of the book. The other discovery I made this morning, believe it or not, is I discovered for the first time what one of the things following you is about, which might sound kind of crazy because I've been working on this book for years. But I do remember that happening when I wrote The Memory Box. And I do remember that 2 years after the book was published, it occurred to me that it was a book about control and how the protagonist of that book, Caroline, had some serious control issues. And if you're familiar with The Memory Box, you know what I'm talking about. So I wasn't surprised that this morning I realized a new theme that I hadn't realized before, but it is the theme or the concept of belonging. And what each of my 3 POV characters share is that, and we all share it basically, is the need to belong or the desire to belong. And some of the characters want and need to belong to groups that have rejected them. And some of them don't know what groups they belong to. They're in the process of discovering who they are. And that is one of the themes of the book, is identity. Who are you? Who are you and when do you discover who you are? When do you discover what you're all about? So that's one of them. Another theme of the book is mothers and fathers and what makes or defines a real mother or father and who gets to make that choice and what is the definition, because a lot of times they're actually not the people who gave birth to us. So that's sort of an interesting topic that each of the characters does deal with in their own individual way. Now, there's a reason I'm mentioning themes, and I thought to myself, well, what could I do with these themes, and why do I want to know what the themes are in my book? Because you guys know it's a psychological suspense. There's a real, you know, suspenseful, thriller, page-turning quality about it, but underneath all of that, of course, there are these other themes that run through it, okay? So why is that important? Hi, Deb. I know, and Deb, I know you also explore some of these themes too, which is very cool. So why do they help us out? Okay, so they're going to help us out when we come up with keywords. Later on, when we're, like I said before, in a future Facebook Live with you, I'm going to talk about choosing keywords that you will use when you put your book up onto the platforms that will sell it. So for instance, iTunes or Nook or Amazon or Google Play or Kobo. When you list your book, you get to choose keywords. So they're going to be really important there, the themes. But here's another way you can use your themes. I don't know if you're on Instagram or if you're on Facebook or if, well, you're on Facebook because you're with me right now, but it's a really nice idea as you're leading up to your launch to create infographics. So those are posts that maybe are quotes from your character or questions about themes, you know, or polls that you can actually run a survey on Facebook, for instance, and ask questions about things like this. Mothers and fathers, or when did you discover who you were, or I don't know, whatever. But whatever your themes are, think creatively about them. Maybe one of your characters talks about what her definition of a mom is. I know there is a character, Honey, talks about that in one of the chapters, and it would be a great quote to make an infographic out of, because themes are the way you really stir the reader. They'll resonate with your reader because you're going to find some people that are going through what your characters are going through. So this is a great way to pull them in. So think about that as you're thinking about your themes. What else? Let's see. The other thing I will be working on later this week is a Q&A with myself. So what is that all about? Okay, so I am going to be coming up with like 10 questions that I would want a journalist or a blogger or an Instagrammer, bookgrammer to ask me about either myself or ask me about my book. Hi, Robin. This is something, so I don't know if I told you that I have a PR and marketing background, and I've been doing PR and marketing for a long time. And my PR days started when I was at Estee Lauder doing PR and communications for the cosmetics industry. And what I learned about working with journalists there was you're much luckier in getting them to cover you or cover your products if you help them do their work for them. If you give them something that's kind of pre-chewed, if you know what I mean. So coming up with an interview is a great way to encourage a journalist to interview you for their publication when your book comes out, because you've done the work. You've thought of the questions, you've got the answers, you make a document out of that, and you send it to the press or you send it to book bloggers. And if I were you, I would have like maybe 20 Q&As, 20 questions and answers at the ready, and just send 8 and vary them so that you don't pop up with the same interview every place that you pitched, every book blogger that you pitched. You don't want them, they certainly don't want to have the same exact interview as some of their, you know, colleagues, some of their competitors, if you will. Certainly with the press, you want to make it, and if you get an interview with traditional media, you want to make sure that you are also giving them really original stuff. So make sure that you have maybe 20 or 25 Q&As. A lot of them will ask you the same question: where did this book idea come from? How long have you been writing? So you'll have all this stuff. And the other thing that's great is when you have this already, a file on your computer with all this done, when all of these requests come pouring in, you have it ready and you can answer it right away. And of course, I can't express this enough. If you do have the press or a book blogger or an bookstagrammer ask you for an interview, respond right away. Do not let days go by before responding, because you've got them, again, you've got them on the hook. Make sure you tell them how much you appreciate the time and the space that they're dedicating to your book, to you as an author, to your interview, and you respond right away. And make sure you vary up those questions. So, you know, and readers, for instance, don't keep seeing the same ones over and over again. Well, that's what I got on my list for this week, and that's a lot, because I'm also writing every day. I am writing my new book, which I'm really excited about, and I'll tell you about that some other time. So the marketing is only part of my day, and that's what I'm going to be tackling this week. If you have any questions, please comment with your questions here. Let me know. I will try and answer them. Either here or on Twitter, where I also have some marketing tweets that I like to do. And that's it for today. Good luck to you all. Have a great week. I'll see you next Monday at 3. Bye-bye.